Welcome to the Digital Forester Podcast, where we talk to foresters about how they are using digital technologies in their day-to-day forestry work. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Digital Forester Podcast. Today, I'm joined by three people. So this is unheard of. Normally, it's only two. That's the most we've done. So we're trying three, and we're going to have a lot of fun. So first off, we have Cheung. He's the founder and CEO of Robotics Cats. We also have two folks from Indicium Dynamics. We have Vernon. He's the CEO, and Mike Ross, who's the CTO of Indicium Dynamics. So I'll start off with Andre. Andre, how are you doing today?
I'm good. Good morning and good afternoon. It's early in my time at 6 a.m. Hong Kong time.
Hong
I'm
Kong
good.
time. Crazy. So Hong Kong time for you, 6 a.m., 5 p.m. for me in Ottawa, Canada. And Rob, Mike, where are we reaching you and what time is it?
So it's about 9 a.m. where we are. We're in a smoky Hobart in Tasmania, Australia. So right down the bottom of Australia, you'll find an island, a very beautiful island. And we're right down the bottom of that island in the capital city called Hobart. And yeah, it should be a beautiful day, but it's actually, there's some smoke sort of heading down off the mountain from a fire in the central of the state.
Yep, there we go. So you've got your coffee in hand and well, I'll probably have something else in hand in a few hours. But Mike, are you in Hobart as well?
Yeah, I'm in the office at the moment. We've got a bit of activity in the background. We've got the team about to go out and do some repairs after some recent thunderstorms. So yeah, all go here in the office.
There you go. There you go. Live in action. So we were joking at the start as we were just warming up that often when we do these virtual calls and there's a global audience, someone always draws the short end of the stick with the 2 a.m. call or 3 a.m. But hey, at least this time is not too bad with Andre at 6 a.m., you folks at 9 a.m., 5 p.m. for me. So glad this could work out for all of us. So I'm going to start things off with maybe Andre and Robotics Cats, bachelor's of engineering from the University of Hong Kong. Looks like you've been working in the vision space, the AI space, but maybe introduce yourself, your role with the company, what Robotics Cats does, and I believe you have a few products, and if you want to introduce those briefly, feel free.
Okay, and thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to join the Digital Forester podcast. And first thing first, I'm not a forester. Okay, and I'm more of a traditional enterprise or B2B frontline people selling technology stuff. And I'm now the founder and CEO of Robotics Cats. And we are AI analytics or machine visions a startup. And right now, one of our core product, what we are focusing on is to detect wildfires, forest fires early using cameras and AI, machine learning.
Okay. And where did this interest in wildfire detection come from?
Oh, good questions. And well, fairly speaking, we don't really have very serious wildfires in Hong Kong. And when I met my co-founder, Paul Redhead, I believe 5 years ago, he has been working in this sector since 2006, 17, 18 years. When we discussed, came up with an idea using, okay, AI was coming 5 years ago, and using camera to automate all the detections, all the monitoring. And I was really excited. And then I learned from him what the guys are doing in South Africa, in California, in Australia. And that's how the story starts.
Cool, very cool. And so with a company named Robotics Cats, should I assume your cameras have tails and four paws and they look like cats? Or where did the name or the genesis of the company name come from?
Oh, but we have a lot of alphabet in our sector. Again, two quick answer. The first one is most of the time we use what we call pen to zoom. Mine is an expert. They move. They have a camera and then round, just look like a small animal head, and sometimes like a cat. So a robot. First answer. The second answer is most of the team are in fact like are cat people. I myself a cat person, and then so we pick robotics and cats together.
Interesting. I feel like all the audience that are dog lovers are suddenly going to turn off the podcast, and the cat lovers will tweet out, you got to check out this podcast. I'm joking, of course. So I noticed in your virtual background that it looks like you have a camera in the background. Is this what it looks like, or a typical setup?
Yes, this is a fixed camera, and then when one thing we really try to do is to reuse or repurpose what our customer they have. And then for good or bad, we have surveillance camera everywhere. Some of them pointing to forest or wildland. And we believe it's a great idea if other than security physical surveillance purpose, we can add AI on it to detect forest fires, especially during fire seasons.
Okay.
So that's the typical setup. We connect to it and then running the AI smart in the cloud.
Okay. So looking at this, it's more of a SaaS offering. I think looking at your website, the idea is you can subscribe to the service and you'll provide the hardware, you'll provide the applications for users to monitor large areas, what seems like large areas of land base. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. So I'm going to shift gears over to Rob and Mike. And for those our audience, there is a reason that there's this many people on the call. We'll get to it. We'll keep you in suspense for now, but there is a reason, so bear with us. But for Rob and Mike, maybe one of you, could you introduce us to Indicium Dynamics and what it is you do?
Yeah, so I might actually let Mike speak to start with, because as well as being the CTO, he's actually the founder of the business from around 8 years ago. So Mike, maybe if you give the background of how we got to this point, in particular around forestry.
Yeah, so Indicium Dynamics was founded 8 years ago. So we started life trying to solve some problems around data integration and being able to handle sort of real-time sharing of data between different types of systems. So we started life there and then merged into the sort of IoT space. And forestry was a sort of an area that came up as a place where there hadn't been a lot of innovation in the IoT space yet. And the forestry companies in Tasmania were eager to get moving in this sort of space to sort of innovate and do something exciting. So we teamed up pretty early on with the forestry space, and we actually coined a term #digital forest, which aligns well with this podcast. And we moved on in that space, looking at various different things, from monitoring wildlife through to monitoring conditions around burns and all sorts of things. So it's been a fairly long journey, but we're not foresters ourselves, but we seem to know a lot of people in the forestry industry and getting a very good handle on how they operate and how we can digitize their worlds to try and make it more efficient and more accurate and help them get stuff done faster.
Yeah, very cool. So IoT, Internet of Things. So was this something like Mike, just out of your mind, like you thought Indicium, like we're going to focus on this and forestry, or were there a confluence of events that kind of brought folks together and voila, there's this new idea?
It was sort of probably the latter there, the confluence of things. So talking to the right people, having the right technology, and being in the right spot at the right time to be able to put all the pieces together and actually kick some really quick goals and show that this IoT concept is ready and willing to solve problems.
Right. And then, so I'm going to assume that Rob, in the CEO role, he came on board to accelerate some initiatives, or maybe the things you don't want to do.
I'll let Rob talk to himself, but kickstart the business into a rapid growth.
Look, I've been a long admirer of the company, and I joined about 8 months ago. It really was a meeting of the minds with Mike and I in terms of let's put our brains together and give Mike a little bit more horsepower and the ability to focus on particularly the technical side of our operations. My interest in the business was that fundamentally what Mike has built here is this flexible, powerful platform. We can, in essence, stand any product and service up on top of it. But for both of us as Tasmanians, we live in a very unique part of the world. There is some incredible natural beauty within this place and some incredible natural resources. And the forest industry in Tasmania is without a doubt world's best practice in terms of how they go about doing what they do. So for us, from an Indicium standpoint, there is our work that we've been doing around wildlife protection. There is our work that we've been doing around using fire as a risk mitigation tool. And increasingly moving forward and through our close relationships, where the world is going around carbon markets and biodiversity markets. I mean, Tasmania we see as a test tube for what can be done elsewhere around the world. And there are such such natural sensitivities here. We are fortunate. It is a small place. We're probably 2 degrees of separation from any one person. So if you don't know someone, you just call the person you know that knows them. And it's a great way to sort of test out a lot of ideas. But we know that we want to take our ideas to the world, and that's very much through partnerships. And it's the reason we're here talking to you, and it's the reason we've formed this excellent relationship with Andre. So yeah, it's exciting times. Forestry is one area that we're focusing on. But yeah, because it relates to these other things around climate change in particular.
Yeah, for sure. So I guess before I bring Andre back into the fold, thinking of Indicium, I got it right the third time, Indicium Dynamics. There's a platform that you've built, and maybe could you describe to our audience what this platform is and some of the use cases that a average forester might consider using it for?
Go for it, Mike.
So at the core of the platform is a product called the Indicium Data Bus, which is a sort of real-time, high-speed integration tool. So it's something that we can build plugins to connect to different types of systems. So from a technical point of view, we can plug it into a control system. We can plug it into a database. We can plug it into a PTZ camera, and we can get it to produce magic, get data off those devices, and send it off in all sorts of different directions. So in the case of Robotics Cats, I remember messaging Andre one night, going, "Heard about you guys. Could we give your platform a try?" And he set us up with an account, and 10 minutes later, I'm sending through images and testing it out. So it was sort of a tool that really gave us the ability to turbocharge development of tools like our Fire Foresight product. Because it's a platform that deals with integration of different sorts of things, we can integrate things like sensors, so fuel moisture sensors, soil moisture sensors, weather stations, whatever it is. It's a single platform that just has all these different types of data available to it. And we can then present that to the foresters really easily, really quickly, and in a way that's easy for them to interpret. So they can see, the weather conditions, the wind's coming this way. We can see on the camera there's a fire. We can visually see how it's behaving. We can see what the weather's doing, how it's changing, how the forecasts are changing, and empower them with all the information they can get to be best prepared on how to fight that fire or prepare for a fire.
Right.
So I think that's the main guts of it, to help the foresters get their stuff done.
Yeah, very cool. So the beauty of these podcasts, I get to ask all the dumb questions because in some cases they really are the dumb ones because I have no idea. So Andre, Mike mentioned PTZ or Z for our American friends, PTZ, PTZ, cameras, point, time, zone, close, no.
Pentil Su.
Oh, okay. Overthought that one. Overthought that. There we go. Pan, tilt, zoom cameras. Okay, perfect. So Mike gave you a call. You wanted to connect. So guys, like, give me some background. Did you guys know each other like before that, or it was just, social or research online, and that's how you all kind of came together?
I think we'd been involved in a project that was funded by the Minderoo Foundation to deploy a camera, and I think it was through a connection there. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys.
Yeah, we're just having a meeting one afternoon, and just a status meeting to see where we're at with all the camera deployments. And someone mentioned this weird company called Robotics Cats, so I'm frantically Googling it and saw a link there. So I jumped on and messaged Andre and said, "Oh, I wouldn't mind giving this a try." And it was the same night we'd had it all up and running. So it was sort of, just a passing name of a company, and picked it up, and away we went.
So Andre, on your side, what was it like? Some random dude, Mike Ross, pinging you from Indicium Dynamics? Were you like, who the heck is this guy who wants to like connect? Or were you like, oh, I've heard of these guys down in Tasmania? What was your initial response to that outreach?
Well, I believe to most startup because of COVID, we use it to talk to people through Zoom or online meeting or LinkedIn around the world. We practiced a lot in the last few years. So and in fact, my team do receive a lot of inquiry from different parts of the world. From Victoria Island, again, Tasmania is a big island, and from Portugal, from different parts of the world. And I recall at that day I received someone called Mike sent me two lines, and okay, I just share our standard script. That's how you create an account, set up all the blah blah blah, and then like in a few minutes, pop by, I see in my dashboard we have new incoming traffic coming. Oh, it's cool. Someone breaks our record. Okay, and one thing we really want to build our platform is, we will talk about that in a second. Most of our customers, they are national parks or government agencies, and they have internal procedures. It takes time for them to test something, even at free. Okay, they have their own procedure, procurement process, and one thing we really want to achieve is, if someone want to test something called AI wildfire detections, we are not the bottleneck. We are not. Okay, as long as you are technical, you can test it on the fly at your fingertips. That's how we want to build our product. We are not there yet, but we are close to. And then some gentleman called Mike just broke our record as a third party to test our platform in 2023.
Wow, very cool, very cool. So one of the reasons I wanted to initially, I reached out to Andre because I was on social media and watching something, and something flew across my my screen, and I thought, wait, let me scroll back up and pause to take a look, and then this is what's brought us all together. So there's an XPRIZE competition, and one, I believe, that's focused on wildfire. And I believe you folks are part of a consortia that are tackling this. So maybe I'll ask Rob, maybe if you can introduce us to like the XPRIZE Wildfire. Like, what is this thing, and why does it make sense to you all to form a consortia?
Yeah, so I think if a quick Google of XPRIZE, it's been around as an organisation for many years, that sort of sets super challenging competitions to tackle. It's almost leapfrog a generation in any given industry. They do competitions around advancements in medical practices. I think one of the original ones was something about access to space. But they set super ambitious goals, and they seek philanthropic funds in order to put an alluring prize purse out there, just to sort of get the attention of people that might already be in that space that want to focus on it. The competition around wildfire has two streams to it. So a Earth observation, so a satellite-based detection of fire from space, of a fire probably less than about 10 square meters, so very small, in under a minute, and communicated to resources on the ground in less than 10 minutes. That's super challenging, because you've got all sorts of access to space, and the ability to have the appropriate satellites with the appropriate sensors with enough revisitation rate to get around the Earth, just to be able to detect a fire in under a minute and report that fire in under 10 minutes. Super challenging. The second part of the prize is, and go do something about it. So typically that means go and put the fire out. So our view of that world is, okay, well, we're going to use people who have capability from a low Earth orbit observation point of view, and then we're going to work with a drone company in order to go and put this out. So that's a super ambitious thing for any business to want to undertake. It's even more incredible for someone like us, who are, we consider ourselves sort of startup businesses, to go and undertake that. So, talking with Andre, our observation was, well, if we want to go and tackle something as ambitious as this, we need to look for partners that are already sort of starting in, they've got an angle, some intellectual property, the right frame of mind to tackle their individual part of the jigsaw puzzle. And that's what we've done. So I'm coming at this through having the Indicium hat on. Fundamentally, Indicium is this data bus in which we can just integrate and aggregate and orchestrate any sort of data. So I reached out to a company called Little Place Labs, predominantly based out of Houston in the US, who have quite separately to the XPRIZE set themselves the ambitious goal of being able to detect fire from space in under 7 minutes. So their approach is, in essence, to work with existing satellite companies and new launch companies and be able to run artificial intelligence from low Earth orbit, create these virtual constellations of satellites. So they're able to tackle this concept of the revisitation rate, right? Having a satellite over the top of a potential fire at a reasonable cadence. So that's their part of the jigsaw puzzle. But then what? So the concept is they tell Indicium, and from there we trigger a whole data pipeline of other work. One of those would be terrestrial verification. If we know that we've got a pinpoint of a particular fire, if we've got assets in the area, or through Robotics Cats, where the concept is we don't have to have fixed assets just dedicated to the lookout of fire. If we're able to run AI over the top of existing in situ cameras, then we've either got a source of verification of fire, or we've got a source of the initial detection of fire, of which I can verify from low Earth orbit. So that's where we're going with that concept. Again, Indicium is playing that orchestration piece between the two capabilities. In the second part of the XPRIZE stream, it's then, okay, then go do something about it. So we're actually working at the moment with another company based in Tasmania, one that I'm very familiar with, called TasDrone Solutions. That their applications within forestry are actually on starting fires. They're working with their companies, with their customers, to use drones as a source of ignition for risk mitigation, prescribed burning, weed management, those sorts of things. But I called Andrew, who's the CEO there, and I said, hey man, instead of starting fires, let's go put some out. And so again, startup business, more than keen to take on the challenge, working through their capabilities from a custom drone point of view, working through their capabilities with their vendors. So the concept is that if we can pre-position drone platforms, drone in the box style offerings, alongside our existing assets, or on the back of trailers, or other ways of deploying, then the third piece of the puzzle is, okay, we've got a verified detection working through the appropriate authorities. How do we get drones in the air in the first instance, just to go and have a look, get that really close situational awareness, and then we've got 4 years to figure out how we're going to actually assist putting those fires out. Now, there's some super challenging physics that needs to be addressed in terms of getting enough payload over a fire quick enough in order to actually have a meaningful impact there. So, that both streams are super ambitious. The good news is, and I find this in all the conversations, we're having conversations with the company all over the world, everyone's up for the challenge. Everyone's putting their hand up and saying, oh, yeah, well, why wouldn't we? Why wouldn't we have a crack at this? So that's a fantastic place for us to sit. I'm very fortunate. I've got an amazing team at Indicium, but I've got this amazing cohort of partners that are looking to, change the world. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. Yeah, and when you were thinking that, what popped my mind was Rob, like, that's ambitious, and literally you said, it's ambitious, and I'm like, yeah, it is. So thanks for that overview. And I guess, Andre, from your side, if we look at maybe the pieces of the solution, and you guys correct me if I'm wrong, I'm kind of looking at it as there's different partners, each bringing different pieces of the solution to the table. So if you maybe think about the camera side, or the Robotics Cat side of things, wildfire detection, Andre, this is something you guys have been doing for quite some while. If I remember my brain, it's been a couple of years. So thinking of that, are there any areas of your part of the contribution that makes you nervous Or is there a space where you need to do more heavy R&D to get the PTZ camera and the algorithms to do what they need? Or is this kind of like a no-brainer? This is why Robotics Cats exists. It's just to do this.
Oh, good questions. And well, and in fact, I talked to Rob. We discussed a few years ago. Okay, in this digital forestry or fire tech domain, we find most of the player they try to do everything themselves. Okay, hardware, software, and I understand. Okay, as a startup, I want to build everything, and but as a startup, we don't have that resources to build the full stack. Okay, and because of COVID, and we pivot, and we originally 5 years ago we want to build our own hardware cameras, which is really cool, and then and our software. At the end, with all the border control, stop international travel, and we have to think out of the box. And the only thing we can move across border is bit and bytes. That's how we pivot from a hardware-centric company to a software company. And then rather than shipping cameras to different countries, we making use of customer camera or what they can buy locally. It's easier. And then so to your questions, and when Rob we planned to do the fire foresight project, we will speak more, I believe, in a second. And then if a few weeks later, Rob mentioned that you are interested in XPRIZE, and I told Rob, of course, there's wildfire detection things. I'm working on it for more than a year to find the right partners. And so to your questions, what made me nervous or excited is how finally different players, teams, they have a common goals to work together. It is challenging for startup. We are focusing on all our own stuff. Integrate with your product, it's not the top priority. But with the XPRIZE, it's really cool. Bring the teams together.
Right.
What we make me nervous is, okay, finally the dreams come true, people working together, and I have to learn other people's stuff, learning from Mike and Rob of what Indicium Cloud is, how we can better fit our data to them, and then make things happen.
Right. So thinking of your camera and the detection, it's computer vision and AI. We've got day and night, and then we've got if there is a fire or a smoke. So do those influence your solution, or is the Robotics Cats technology using special cameras that are thermal, sees through smoke, or what can you share in terms of the novelty of the Robotics Cats solution?
Yeah. Well, there are a lot of sensors. Right now, we focus on on camera, both visual RGB and thermal sensors. We spend more time on visual because it's more affordable. And thermal is great, but it's 10 times more expensive. And at the end, we found that we spend a lot of time explaining to customer, but it just, I'm sorry to say that, technology is not the top priority in forestry, if I'm correct. So if using thermal camera, the cost is just too high to drive adoptions. So we try our best to make use of visual camera, which is more mass adopted. And then so to your questions, and for POC, for if budget is okay, we use both sensor, but for actual deployment, most of the time we use visual camera. And then we try to use visual camera to, okay, cool, to see fire in both daytime and nighttime, to see the smoke or see the flame, and then using machine learning to provide customer, okay, hey, we find the fires, how confident we are, and where it is on the 2D dimensions, and then try to figure out in the 3D world where it is. Yeah.
Right. So then the data you're collecting, there might be some at edge processing, but ultimately it's coming to the Indicium platform because it's a service bus and it might pick up different things. But Australia, Tasmania, I don't know about Hong Kong, but at least Canada, large geographies with very limited communication coverage. So tell me how that factors into what you're doing. How are we overcoming moving bytes around in environments that are often communication denied environments?
Yeah, look, I think Andre and I have both got a background in telecommunications, and Mike's been using a combination of technologies for a number of years as well. When we're talking about, if anyone looks up Tasmania on a map, you took the whole western half of it's World Heritage area. There are no telecommunication towers. There will never be any telecommunication towers. And in areas like that, low Earth orbit comms companies have been a game changer, absolute game changer in terms of that. But we're agnostic to comms. We will go with whatever works. But companies like Starlink have most certainly changed the dynamic in terms of where we can. But in doing so, you increase the footprint of your deployment in the world. We've got to have solar power and batteries in those extremely challenging environments as well. So there's a combination of hurdles that we have to overcome. Comms is just one of those pieces. From Indicium standpoint, though, we've been able to find a partner in Robotics Cats that we're just so happy with, from the attentiveness and the passion that Andre brings to it, but also from the quality of the AI that they're building. To give you an example, I mean, we had a detection the other evening of this fire I mentioned at the start, in the middle of the state. But we had a positive detection of that from about 109 kilometres away. Right place, right time, right conditions, absolutely. But the fact of the matter is, we're sitting up on top of a tall mountain looking at the right place. And just through a culmination of events, we got a positive detection at that range. Now, typically, we'd only be looking at somewhere between 15 and maybe 30 Ks to be super confident. But we sit up on top of tall places. Our field of view is always far larger than that, and we're getting detections consistently, 40, 50 Ks out. But we really pushed a record the other night at 109 Ks. I mean, I've not heard of anyone doing it that far out. It's not something we're going to be able to produce every night, but it was certainly an indication of, if we were thinking that is out in a really remote part of the world, but a really valuable part of the world. That's an incredible capability for us to be thinking about deploying elsewhere.
Yeah, absolutely. So thinking of that, you have the vision component, you got the comms, and you mentioned Starlink. So a lot of digital forcers now, most the ones that are pretty progressive have maybe not a full rollout, but they're using them. They're in the back of their trucks. They deploy them when they need comms. But one of the common things we see is groups that say, "Oh, let's build a tower with 5G," and then of course it doesn't really work out because guess what? There's terrain. I shouldn't say it doesn't work out. It doesn't meet what was advertised in terms of footprint for communication, often as a function of terrain. But I know, thinking of the Indicium folks, there's some LoRaWAN or long range wide area network stuff that you've worked on over the years. And I suspect, Mike, on your side, it's kind of in that nerdy camp of we're doing things and maybe mesh networks. Like, there's so many buzzwords, but help the digital forester community kind of set the lay of the land in terms of what's the art of the possible today. Is LoRaWAN still the way to go? Is it a private 5G tower dedicated to their business? Is it Starlink, or is it something else?
Well, it's going to be horses for courses. It's the right technology for the sort of bandwidth you required. Starlink worked out really well for video feeds and for image feeds for the fire detection side of things. But the power requirements to run that sort of network are astronomical. So sensing, putting a weather station out there with a Starlink is just a bit overkill. So with every deployment we do of a camera or anything else, we try to get a LoRaWAN gateway in there as well, just to expand the network. It's a low cost way of us getting a last mile of coverage in somewhere. So for instance, in the west coast of Tassie, the World Heritage area, we put in a LoRa gateway out there, which allows us to then reach into some of the valleys around that location where there is no 5G, no 4G connectivity at all. You probably wouldn't even get a radio signal out of there to call home. So we've got the ability to put sensors in those valleys, measuring things like fuel moisture or soil moisture or whatever. and the beauty of technologies like LoRaWAN is the really low power consumption of that radio network. So a fuel moisture sensor, for instance, we can deploy one of those using LoRaWAN that'll run on batteries for a couple of years. It's got a really small footprint. It's easy to carry, put in a backpack sort of thing. So people can go and deploy them and know they're going to work for a long period of time. That, I think, is what's changing it up a bit. It's not a large deployment. It's not concreting in a pad and putting in a solar panel and doing all that sort of heavy lifting you would do in the old telemetry days. It's picking up a little battery power box and placing it in the forest and sending the data out.
Very cool. Very cool. So we touched on XPRIZE, but I guess we've also we've touched on the words, but maybe haven't said it. But I guess do we say Team Fire Foresight, or do we just go with Fire Foresight? This is a collaboration between you folks on this call and the Little Place Labs and TAS Drone Solutions you all mentioned. So thinking of your work that we've talked about, where are you in the readiness map? I know it's 4 years, right? So the prize, I believe, is $11 million if you win. I can't remember if you get injected with funding to do this a little bit, but where are you all on the roadmap, and how would you say, giving you a chance to beat your chest compared to the other partners doing this? Sounds like you're all pretty far advanced in this journey and the thought process of connecting the two different themes and how you might bring them together. What are your thoughts on that? I'll open it to
look,
you.
I think that if the using the vernacular around tech readiness level, I'll get this all wrong, but we're a 3 or a 4 already, and I mean from a solution point of view. Individually, we're probably each a little bit higher than that, but with the caveat that we're all startups and we're all doing multiple things and juggling multiple hats all at once. I've quickly come from this competition is a good North Star, i.e., as individual businesses, it's a good sort of funnel for us to be sort of just aiming for. I'm starting to actually get some confidence that we're going to actually have a working solution here within this 4-year scenario. So it's an exciting prospect. I mean, my pitch to each of the individual companies was, regardless of the competition, there's good business to be had here. There are good positive outcomes from a climate perspective. But we're all businesses. We all need to be seeking funding. We all need to be providing services. So, whilst the competition is this North Star for us, in the meantime, what have we got? What's ready to go right now? So fortunately, Robotics Cats and us have existing customer deployments out in the field. And we'll continue to be growing those out. I spent last Friday with the team at TAS Drone talking about exactly the same thing, actual operational outcomes for customers. I've got a chat with the guys at Little Place Labs next week, I think, about the exact same thing. We are ready to go. We haven't got the full competition-ready solution. Is still years away, but there are things that we can do today that are going to have amazing impacts for our customers, and that's a fantastic place for us to be.
Yeah. So how does that work with the XPRIZE? Because I shouldn't say it's so long. It's probably right size because it's so ambitious over 4 years. But how do you keep that momentum amongst all of you going? Because each of you seem like you're responsible for a specific area, responsibility in this overall solution, and I could see it being so easy to lose momentum for the accident of not seeing each other in person, maybe as an example, and things. But how do you keep that? Like, maybe I'll start with Andre and just say, like, from your side, being in Hong Kong and then being in Tasmania, at least it's kind of geographically kind of close. At least you could get to versus Austin, Texas, or wherever Little Place Labs is. I think you mentioned Austin. I'm assuming that's the American side. Like, that's a far trek. So how do you, Andre, from your side, how do you envision with your team keeping that momentum up with the other partners in your consortia?
Well, again, great questions. First of all, from our side, we really want make really early detections when customers share all those interesting pictures or detection images. I never visit Tasmania. I really want to sometime this year. It's just magnificent, amazing. Okay, when I saw a video about a used copper mine, and wow, it's all the valley, all the mountains, really amazing, and that's what we excite us. We may not travel every place in the world, but we can do something with customer camera, with that infrastructure, and doing some good tech. That's what drive us to do what we do every day. And then the other thing is we are just part of the puzzle. As I mentioned, okay, for enterprise or a B2B network security, there's always a term, actionable insight or informations. Okay, well, if we can provide good detections, what is the next steps? Okay, you need to do something on the fire, right? Okay, which is safe, if it let it burn, or if it's really dangerous, do something, control its supplies. The next step is even more important. And then that's something really excited is for the XPRIZE, for the team. We can put the puzzle together. And in fact, we do have some early customers in South America, in Uruguay, in Brazil, or even in California. The XPRIZE pictures, okay, the whole value chain, early detections, and then data distribution at the end, control the fire is most forestry customer or national park customer they want to achieve. And then it's really a amazing goal that we want to deliver.
Right. And Mike, on your side, knowing a typical CEO is always go, go, go. I want it tomorrow or yesterday, and it's really easy. What's taking so long, Mike? How do you keep your team energized and motivated to respond to the CEOs of the world that just want to go at, turbo warp speed? How do you maintain that level of energy when you're competing in this type of competition?
Oh, well, the CEO's on the call, so I'll be polite. Well, I'm in the trenches with the guys, so I'm writing code with them. I'm running around the countryside, installing cameras. We're all in it together. So it's building and fostering a great team. I think that's everyone's bought in. Everyone understands what we're doing, and everyone understands what we're trying to achieve. And so I think that way we're all driven to actually get stuff done really quickly. We're not scared to fail. We'll give something a try. If it doesn't work, then we'll turn around and come up with a new solution and go off again and try and solve it a different way. So I think that having a great set of people around us means that we've got all these minds ready, available to come up with the best way forward for everything. So I think that's the kicker.
Yeah. Well, even watching you, for those listeners, you can't see it, but you can see Mike, smiling as he's describing this. You can sense the energy, the fun there. So thinking of this conversation, Rob, I know in the warm up we touched on maybe there's some other projects we want to highlight in terms of the stuff that folks are working on. And because truthfully, when I listen, it's like, well, if we've got the service bus, the orchestrator, you can take things and action them. You got the camera side, the vision side, the detection side. While we're talking about wildfire, I can't help but think there's other things you can do with this combination. So Rob, from your seat, what can you share in terms of maybe some things that Indicium is working on, or maybe collaborations that you have with Andre and the other players for other homegrown XPRIZes?
Yeah, so again, there's a theme under everything that we're doing. It's presented itself to us, and the concepts around climate and climate change. In essence, fundamentally what we're doing from an IoT perspective is being in nature and monitoring and measuring what's going on out there. So, more holistically, we're working with organizations across a number of streams that, in order for them to understand how they might change their practice as it relates to climate change, or change their practice in terms of their footprint on the world. But the first thing that they have to do is measure. And that's fundamentally what we do. Is the deployment of the right sensor at the right place at the right time to measure, and then working with those organisations on their change, and then continuing to measure. So it's a continuous improvement piece for us. Under everything that we're doing is this. It's almost elemental in terms of the areas that we're focusing on: fire, water, energy. These we do things with flood and flood detection, flood monitoring. We do things with power companies, and and then there's all the overlaying layers of power companies have been shown to have an impact in terms of being ignition sources for fires. So there's these overlapping themes that keep presenting to us, and within the constraints of the resources that we have available to us, we pull those threads to come up with great conversations and great products and services that we're able to provide. Our approach, fundamentally, we look at Indicium as this aggregation platform. Now that then feeds into, well, we need to work with our partners, people who are already the subject matter experts in their various niche, and integrate against them. And that's exactly what we're doing within the team. The Team Fire Foresight for the XPRIZE team, but it's a similar stream that we're then following with our customers. So in Tasmania, Indicium is very fortunate that we have all of I'll call them the forestry, the land managers within the state are already Indicium customers of one sort or another. We were starting to see that just through their own operations, we're starting to see some duplication or some potential for overbuild in the types of assets and infrastructure that they would have been deployed. So we actually called them all into a room and said, there's an opportunity here. Everyone's capital constrained, but there's an opportunity here for us to strategically plan all together about where we're going to deploy soil moisture sensors, fuel moisture sensors, weather stations, and now cameras. From a detection point of view, the LoRaWAN coverage as well. So, that's an approach we are seeking to replicate elsewhere around the world as well. Is let's get into a room, but I guess firstly, demonstrate that we are who we are, but start building that trust and those trusted networks. But then, in any given place around the world, let's get people working together to overcome these super challenging, super daunting projects.
Yeah.
So we're taking that concept of working together and aggregating and being bold and ambitious in terms of the things that we're trying to overcome, and we're keen to do that wherever we can.
Yeah, for sure. Very cool. So I guess thinking maybe Andre, I'll go to you as we look at what the consortium is doing, but maybe from your seat with a focus on Robotics Cats, what are the things that get you excited each morning? Like when you wake up, are there certain technological advancements, or are there certain themes? Obviously, climate is one. I'm hearing loud and clear from all of you on the call. There's a purpose there. Rob mentioned the North Star, right? Metric there. But Andre, from your seat, what are the technologies that are getting you excited, that you're looking out for a year, maybe 2-year time frame, to augment your capabilities with Robotics Cats?
Okay, and a few things, and even about we use machine learning, visual AI to find things, and then we try different models, and we believe with the advance in GPU, all those stuff, we can find fire even earlier, and that's one dimension. And the other one is everyone talk about the generative AI, ChatGPT, and well, I myself, I find my GUI, my interface very easy to use. I believe Mike agree. He just fix it on the fly, but again, to some non-network, non-IT people, it takes some time to set it up. We try to offer in our GUI the flexibility for a customer to customize how the detection behaves. And you want more sensitive, or you want something to avoid detections based on your environment. We have all those of tools, but it seems that some customer, they don't get it. And I'm playing around with Copilot ChatGPT, and I'm thinking, well, if you can just say something, the configure the system for you will be beautiful. And another dream, and Yes, and of course, one direction is we talked about this previously, to how different systems can work together more seamlessly, and then to one plus one bigger than two, create more business value to the customer. And we want to show to the world we can, and we are doing some great thing in Tasmania. Really
Perhaps Andre, mention where you're
amazing.
going with mention where you're going with wildlife detection.
Yep.
So Robotics Cats. I mean, we're currently using for wildfire, but Andre's also building the capability out around wildlife, and again, that speaks to an Indicium relationship where we're working with various customers and various opportunities around, in essence, biodiversity monitoring. So there's even scenarios where we've got single camera deployments, but we're able to search for both fire and a particular species off the same infrastructure. I mean, that's an incredible thing to consider to do as we're both building out.
Yeah, very cool. And detection is a detection. I guess the question is, what do you want to detect? And you go from there. So I guess, Mike, sitting from your seat as the CTO of the company, what gets you excited looking into the future? And I suspect, again, CTO probably more in the weeds of the tech, but is there something that you're just like, man, in the next year or two, this is going to be change the world, and 5 years out, this will be another game changer? But what keeps you smiling each and every day?
I think from my point of view, it's what can we do to make decision times shorter and make people really excited about data so that they can feel that they can make a decision with more confidence in a shorter period of time. So I'm talking with lots of people about how we can sort of integrate different systems that are already in place in the state of Tasmania. So understanding smoke levels. If you did a burn, what's the smoke level going to be? What's the forecast going to be for rainfall over the next 7 days? How can we incorporate that into a model to tell us what the moisture content's going to be in the forest? Bringing all that sort of information together, processing it, producing a result that's just a traffic light of sorts to someone, so they can go, well, it's looking like Wednesday's the day we're going to do this, because all the indicators are pointing at that day, rather than people rocking up on the day going, oh, I think today's the day, give everyone a call, let's go do something. It's sort of 3 or 4 days out, being able to tell them that it's looking like it's going to be Wednesday, go do it Wednesday. That, to me, it sounds kind of boring, but knowing that we can produce that sort of insight, get it to people reliably and in front of them in a way that they can make decisions earlier, I think that's what's going to be the game changer for me. So that's what I'm looking forward to.
Very cool. Yeah, times I wonder if we've overcomplicated some of the messaging, and sometimes it just comes down to a traffic light. I know back home here we had bad wildfires, and what did we have? We had something called the Air Quality Health Index, and it goes to 10. And my kid literally came up and said, "Dad, it's like we got all these forest fires, smoke coming in, and the AQHI is 12. What does that mean?" I looked at her, I was like, "Dad don't know, go beyond 10. It just means it's bad." And she's like, "Oh, so it's red." I'm like, "Yeah, that's what it means. Red, bad. That's
Very
all
red.
you need to know, right?" I'm like, 12-year-old kid explaining that to me. So we'll take a pause here and just do a quick lightning round table here. I know we're starting to draw close to time. Are there any other topics, gang, that we wanna chat on or highlight on amongst you, or co-collaborations or anything else? The wildlife detection is totally cool. That's what I was thinking when I was saying, hey, you guys have the service bus. You can detect anything by the sounds of it with Robotics Cats. It's just telling Andre what you need, and then what's the actions that are driven as a function of that detection. There's some interesting dots to connect, but I'll open up the floor for you three gentlemen. Any other topics you want to bring to top to mind and share with this global audience?
Look, I might just start with part of what we've been doing here has we're not pretending to know the ins and outs of how it is to be a forester. We're not pretending to know the ins and outs of any part of the overall jigsaw puzzle here. But one thing that we are open to is talking about it. Andre, I mean, all of us are spending our evenings talking with people all around the world about where they see their particular stake in this. So I guess I'll take the opportunity just to say we're up for that. Hit us up on LinkedIn. You'll find us all. I live on the thing. Always open for a chat, because there are big, ambitious hurdles that need to be sort of leaped here over the next couple of years on any number of things. And we know that we're not going to solve them all, but we're definitely keen to work with the people who are.
For sure. Andre, final thoughts from you?
Well, again, they talk about, okay, Hobart is 3 hours earlier than Hong Kong, and then but in some sense we excited to work with people in other countries, and you learn new things every time. And again, okay, far season move. Okay, if we can work with customer in different countries, we can test our technology. Okay, the whole years. Okay, and we don't want a country is 12-month far seasons, but we want to leverage. Okay, well, in Q1 we have a season for before the far seasons. We can do control burn, so we can test something, and then that help us advance the technology faster. And that's another way we welcome to work with partners, customer around the world, and we can overcome the time zone challenge. Don't worry.
For sure. Awesome. Mike, on your side, final thoughts from your side?
Oh, I'm looking forward to the challenges that are coming up. I think working with companies like Robotics Cats and Little Place Labs and even our other clients around the world, there's a lot of exciting things coming up that I'm just waiting to jump on a plane and go out and do some of them,
Yeah.
which would be good. See some more of the world. Get to Texas would be good. But yeah, it's great working down here in Tassie though with all these sort of forestry companies that are really engaged and helping us foster some good innovation, and just ready to take that to the world.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I know there was a LiDAR conference way back in the day in Hobart, and that was my chance to go visit. Always want to go to Tasmania, but the stars didn't align for that one. So I'm equally excited to maybe get down to your neck of the woods there. And Andre, I saw your social media, your Sunday, tablet with your soda pop there. I'd love to sit beside you somewhere in Hong Kong. Love your code names for your headquarters. Love it. So guys, look, as we look to wind down, I know a lot of folks are probably going to listen to this and go like, wow, I didn't know that this was possible. Wow, I didn't know these folks were that far along in terms of some of their capabilities. And even with the XPRIZE giving you a nice anchor to showcase some of that work. And even talking to you, I can sense the excitement amongst the three of you. There's just this energy, as you speak. It's totally cool. But for folks who may want to reach out to you, I know, Rob, you mentioned LinkedIn is the way to go for you. Is probably the easiest. So folks, you can look up Rob Vernon on LinkedIn. Andre, what's the best way for folks who want to get in touch with you? Email, website, social. What's the best way?
LinkedIn is our spend a lot of time on it, connecting to people, and so you can just find Andre Cheung on LinkedIn, and then Robotics Cats. We are on Twitter and Instagram and YouTube as well.
For sure, for sure. And last but not least, Mike, what's the best way folks to get a hold of you? Rotary phone, on a lower way, just kind of PBX phone, send a message to you.
Oh, we've got a fax machine here in the office, so shoot us a fax. No, I'm on the LinkedIn's as well, so it's that seems to be my go-to platform these days to talk to new people. So yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, sounds like it's LinkedIn for all three. So again, Rob Vernon, CEO of Indicium Dynamics, Mike Ross, CTO of Indicium Dynamics, and Andre Cheung with founder and CEO of Robotics Cats. Thanks so much for joining. We've never done three on this before, so hopefully for our audience, this worked out. Everyone found it insightful. I certainly enjoyed the conversation with all of you. I know it's the start of the day for you guys, and you're probably hitting the ground running with this work. So thanks so much for joining me on this podcast, and I look forward to keeping in touch.